Gail Aldwin, author of The String Games, joins us now. Welcome, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
You are very well studied and very well travelled in your time. Tell us how you came to be a writer.
Well, the first books that I started writing were essentially autobiographical. I lived in Australia for a year and got married there and then ended up in Papua New Guinea for 2 years. So there's quite a story there.
What was that like?
Well, Papua New Guinea was an amazing experience. We were up in the highlands where there was still lots of tribal fighting going on. So you'd see puffs of tear gas being dropped by the helicopters to disperse the tribal fighters, you know, just outside the village where I lived. So it was kind of a scary and an exciting place to live, but overwhelmingly it was absolutely beautiful. It was in the mountains and it had this amazing climate. Because it was so high, you were like living in an eternal springtime, so it was fantastic.
Wow. And then where did you go?
And then I came back home after that and then went to live in Santiago de Compostela for a year, which again was a fantastic experience. I wanted to learn Spanish, but while I was there I decided I wanted to train to be a teacher, and so I had to do my A-levels by correspondence, so I spent far too much time studying in English to really get to grips with Spanish.
And then what?
Then I did a teaching degree, went into education, and several years into my educational career I thought, do we really want to invest so much energy in this? Are there other things that I want to do? And that's how I came across writing.
So how did you get into it in the first place? Because lots of people want to know. Any tips?
Well, you just start writing, really. I had a story that I wanted to tell, so I sat down. It was a long summer holiday, actually, and I sat down every morning and wrote 1,000 words. So at the end of 6-7 weeks, you've got a first draft. So it's a bit like NaNoWriMo, the month in November, when you just sit down and write and get that first draft down. But it took rather a long time to get to a stage where I was making really characters that came from the imagination. Sometimes they are drawn from people as well, but now I'm writing truly fiction rather than sort of autobiography mixed with fiction.
So what have you done? What are your biggest successes so far?
Well, alongside writing a novel, because it's such a huge undertaking, I like writing short fiction as well. So I do write short stories and I've had some competitions with them. I was a runner-up in the Elle magazine short story competition in 2015, so that was fantastic. Got my name in Elle, so that was great. And the competition was judged by Jessie Burton and Kate Moss, so I felt really happy that they'd actually read my work, so that was a sort of a shot in the arm. And I've written flash fiction as well. I won a competition with the Winchester Writers' Festival with that and had a collection of short fiction printed as a result of that competition, so that was, you know, another step along the way, because you do need those constant reinforcements to keep you going. It's such a long process to get to a point where you've got a product that's publishable.
And a poetry competition you won.
Of course, yeah. I started writing poetry much later. I only started about a year ago. And that's because I wanted to capture just moments in time rather than having to shape. Even a 200-word story requires shaping. But with poetry, you have this freedom to just capture a moment in time. And that's something I love about it. And I won this the Bournemouth National Poetry Day competition, so that was great. And it was funny because I went to the awards ceremony and they had it in a nightclub, so I dragged a few friends along, and we were thrilled because we went through the door and they stamped your hand, you know, like a proper nightclub. And it was really nice because there's one thing about writing, you know, you've got the process of writing it, you get the product, but have the presentation as well is fantastic. And so I was up on the stage with my poem ready to read it out, but it was so bloody dark I could hardly see the page. But anyway, it was a short poem, so I virtually knew it and I was able to sort of perform it.
Well, we won't ask you to read it now, but hopefully people can see it online or on your website. So you're very accomplished in terms of what you've achieved so far before even getting to your first novel. Now you've done the Masters and now you're doing a PhD. How does that all tie in to ending up with a finished novel?
I think the process of having the opportunity to workshop amongst other students and to have supervision allows you to spend more time on a novel, really focus on it. I mean, I had written long fiction before, but I'd sort of got to a point where I think, oh, it's done, it's finished. With this, with the course, you have to rework it, rewrite it, restructure it, replot it, on and on and on, until you've got this really honed final product.
And of course that product was the String Games. Give us a little
Absolutely.
teaser if someone hasn't read it.
It's about the legacy of loss. I find that most of my writing is about resilience, and in this novel it shows how it's possible to overcome barriers in your life.
And tell us about the structure, because that's quite unique as well.
Yes, it's a 3-part structure. So we meet the protagonist as a 10-year-old when her younger brother is abducted and murdered, as a 15-year-old when she's sort of suffering by being an only child again, and as an adult when she overcomes the difficulties.
Well, it sounds really exciting, and thanks ever so much for coming in.
Thank you.